Kia ora whanau. My name's Caelan Huntress. I've been a digital nomad on and off for 8 years. I'm the creative director of a digital marketing agency called Stellar Platforms. And today, I'm going to talk to you about how to collect referrals and testimonials through questions. So, how do you like my speech?
Very good.
Would you tell other people that my speech is good? Oh, is this too soon? Does asking this question at the wrong time make you feel uncomfortable and make me look foolish? This is the fear that prevents us from asking the two most profitable questions we can ask in our business. Will you refer me a new client? And will you give me a testimonial? Asking these questions will make you more money and give you better clients throughout the course of your career. So why don't we ask them all the time? I think we don't want to make our customers uncomfortable. The people who give us money, who provide us with our livelihood. We don't want them to be uncomfortable. And ourselves, we don't want to look foolish. And underneath all that, if they say no, it's a judgment on us. If you ask someone for a referral and they don't give you one, it's hard not to take that personally, right? And so we fear to ask it because we don't want to hear the no. Even though referrals are some of the best kinds of clients you can get, and testimonials validate your work like nothing else. One of the reasons that we can do the work we do from anywhere in the world, that we have Wi-Fi and caffeine, is because of our networks. Because of the people that we know. Because of people around the world who trust us. Violating that trust by asking for a referral or a testimonial when you haven't earned it, getting a no, that sets off a fear mechanism in us. And I'm going to give you some practical tools to get around that fear mechanism. But first I want to tell you why referrals are so lucrative. Studies have shown that a customer that comes to you through a referral will earn you 16% more profit over the lifetime value of that customer. It's because they stay with you longer, 37% longer. They're less likely to leave and stop doing business with you. When they're ready to buy, they're easier to convert, and you can convert them faster. If we were to rank all the different kinds of clients on a spectrum, I'd put referrals at the top and commodity clients at the bottom. Is there anybody here who gets clients because they are the lowest price? Okay, good. Down at one end, there's clients who come to you because they're the lowest price, and way at the other end, there's clients who come to you because of your reputation. And I'd even divide these into two categories. There's solicited referrals, which are the type of referrals I'm going to talk to you about today. And then there's proactive referrals. Proactive referrals you don't have to work for. They come to you because of the strength of your reputation. You need an app built. And Nick is a fantastic app developer. I'm going to do an email introduction so that you can talk to Nick, because I know you're looking to hire somebody, and Nick is the best. It's a proactive referral, and Nick doesn't have to do anything for it. Those are the best of the best. And then way down at the other side, we have people who come to you just because you're the lowest price. People also come to you because of sales and marketing. And I've been a salesperson and I've been a marketer, so I don't have a strong bias towards either one. But I find that the clients that come to you through marketing, typically they last longer, they're less hassle, and they're more valuable. Clients who come to you through sales come in one of two ways. Either you identify a need, and you go out and you prospect that lead, and you say, hey, you have a problem, and I have a solution, and here's what I can do for you. And you make a proposal, and if they like you, you do business together. Below that, in my view, is people who put out a request for proposal, or an RFP, because they're comparing a lot of different options. They want to get the most bang for their buck. They want the best value. And so you'll get a lot of price shoppers with RFP customers. But with prospected leads, they might not be comparing you against anyone else. And so you can get more value with those customers. For people in your network, they might know you for 18 months or for 3 years, and then say, hey, I need what you sell. Let's do business together. It's a very smooth transition. But the smoothest is when they bought from you before. Repeat clients don't need to be resold. They know what it's like to do business with you, and they're ready to do it again. So if you want more customers in any of these 4 categories, this is what you do. If you want more customers because you're the lowest price, field the leads as they come in. If you want more customers through sales, make offers. If you want more customers through marketing, tell stories. If you want more customers through referrals, ask questions. Asking questions will uncover new needs that they need solved. It will reveal people in their network who they won't volunteer referrals to you, but if you ask about them, and ask about them regularly, then they'll say, oh yeah, I do know somebody that fits that description, that clear description that you've given me. When you're talking to a customer and you remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to ask for referrals, what happens? That sympathetic nervous system that Catherine was talking to us about earlier, it kicks in because it wants to protect you. It wants to keep you safe. Your brain tells you that there's a threat to a relationship. And I think the reason that this happens is because you're conflating thinking and doing. When you're in the middle of a conversation, when you're having that conversation, when you're reacting to the words that you're hearing, when you're responding to the client that you're talking with, if you all of a sudden stop and think, oh, if I'm going to ask for a referral, how do I do it? What should I say? Should I be saying this? You're wearing 2 mindsets at the same time. Thinking and doing are very different mindsets. When you have on your thinking cap, and you're up at 30,000 feet, and you're looking down at your day, you can see the whole picture. You can make decisions about what you're going to do. You can question why you're going to do it because you have on your thinking cap. When you put on your doing cap, and you're down at ground level, and you're getting things done, and making things happen, that's a very different mindset than when you have on your thinking cap 30,000 feet away. Moving between those 2 mindsets requires a mental commute. There's a switching cost. That's why some of the most productive people batch their thinking tasks together and batch their doing tasks together. So that when you're digging the ditches and you're doing the work, you're just getting things done. And if an idea comes up that's something you need to think about, you can write it down, put it on the list, and the next time you get to thinking time, then you think about it. If you're in the middle of a conversation with your customer and you put on your thinking cap while you're wearing your doing cap, that fight or flight mechanism kicks in because it's trying to protect you. There's a very simple solution to this. Decide what you're going to ask and when you're going to ask it. Do the thinking first, in advance, before you have the conversation. decide the specific point in the customer journey when you're going to ask for a referral. Decide it in advance. It's going to be different for all of us, depending on our businesses, but if you're taking notes, I'd like you to write it down right now. When is the right time for you to ask for a referral? Is it after the last invoice? Is it 3 weeks after delivery? Write it down when to ask for a referral. And what I'd like you to do, the next time you have some thinking time, is write out a script for what you're going to ask. And practice that script. Here's a sample. One of the reasons you hired me was because you hated your website. And I redesigned your website for you, and now your website looks great. Who else do you know that's dissatisfied with their website? Do you know anybody else that wants a website that looks as good as yours? I have a very specific cue for when I move into referrals. I ask for a referral when I hear wow and thank you in the same sentence. That's my cue. Somebody says to me, wow, I really like what you did. Thank you so much. I go right into my script. I don't have to think about it because I practice it in advance. And I decided when it's going to happen. So I can keep the customer conversation going. Keep it friendly, keep it jovial, and keep it natural. And because I'm confident, I don't make my customer uncomfortable. And I don't make myself look foolish. So if you do these two things, if you practice what you're going to ask, and you decide when you're going to ask it, then you can ask for referrals confidently. I think testimonials should be handled completely differently. Studies have shown that 88% of people surveyed trust an online review as much as a personal recommendation. It doesn't matter that the review comes from a complete stranger. The fact that somebody is willing to put their name to it and vouch for you in 88% of cases is going to matter just as much as somebody sitting next to you and telling you that you should do business with this person. But testimonials can be hard to get. You can email a customer and say, hey, could you give me a testimonial? And they might put together a few words with little effort, and that's what you'll get, is a few words with little effort. But if you want a really outstanding testimonial, the kind that can level up your game, you have to do a little bit of work for it. A few years ago, I did work with a client who was the biggest name client I had worked with at the time. And she was an interview host out of LA. And I knew if I had a testimonial from her, I would be able to get a whole new class of clientele. And we worked together for a number of years. She said those two words, wow and thank you, and so I went right into my script. And I said, I'm so glad you liked the work we did together. I really enjoyed this project too. Would you give me a testimonial about what it's like working with me? She said, sure, I'd love to. I'd be honored, is what she said. 3 weeks went by, and I didn't hear anything. So I emailed her. Got my imposter syndrome kicking in. I'm feeling foolish. I don't want to make her uncomfortable. And I said, hey, you remember you were going to give me a testimonial? How's that coming? And she said, oh, yeah, sorry, I've been real busy. I'll get to them. And then she stopped returning my emails. So I looked at things from her perspective. She's an interview host. The whole reason she hired me was because she didn't want to do any writing. And here I was, asking her to take some time out of her schedule, sit down, compose her thoughts, write a paragraph that she felt confident enough to put her name to as volunteer work for my business. How rude. I was being completely insensitive to who she was and how she works. So I asked myself, what's the best way, the most respectful way for me to ask for my customer to help me and to give me a testimonial? And I treated it like an interview. A news reporter doesn't ask people to come in off the street and tell them what the news is for the day. A news reporter goes out and interviews people and records the interviews and takes out these little snippets and strings them together in a story. That story takes work. It's rude for me to ask my customer to do that work, so I did it myself. I got my customer on the phone and I said, hey, I'd like to ask you some questions for about 10 or 15 minutes and just interview you about the process of working with me. I'll take a bunch of notes and I'll write it up into a tidy little paragraph and send it over to you via email for review. And if you like it, you give me a thumbs up and I'll use that as a testimonial. But if you want to make any edits, you can edit it and then reply over to me. How does that sound? She said, great. So I interviewed her, I did a little bit of writing work, and I got a fantastic testimonial. And I was right. This leveled me up. After I got this testimonial, I was able to get work with New York Times bestselling authors, with Hall of Fame speakers. It opened up whole new doors to me. Because the types of clients that were working with contractors like me at this level, testimonials count for a lot. They'd go onto my website to check me out and see, oh, Lisa vouches for this guy. I've been on her show. If Lisa likes him, he must be legit. What was great about the interview process is I was able to highlight specific topics that I wanted to focus on. Instead of her sending some nice words, Caelan did a great job, highly recommend, I got to focus on the specific things that I wanted the testimonial to convey. So if I'm asking a client to write a testimonial for me, I'm giving them homework. But if I ask them for a conversation, it's very easy to do. Instead of them volunteering their time, it's no extra work other than a chat. It's not maybe going to happen, it's definitely going to happen because I'm doing the writing work. It's not about some vague topics, whatever they think of. It's definite, it's specific, it's targeted on the specific things that I want to cover in the testimonial. And it's much more respectful of my customers' time because they don't have to do it themselves. We do it as a collaboration together. These are the 6 questions that I use when I'm interviewing customers. You can take a photo of this. There's a URL at the bottom, testimonials101.com. And if you go there, you get a 4-page PDF workbook that'll help you rewrite the script for yourself. And there's also a 5-day testimonial collection challenge. It's an action plan to get testimonials from your network. And I'm going to come back to these questions in just a second, but first I want to talk about the subjects in order. First is the elevator pitch. Just to get them warmed up, get them talking. Then we go down memory lane, back to the state they were in before we start working together. Then I ask them, why me in particular? Is price more important than quality? What was the experience like, and what would you say? So in an interview, what this series of questions does is it opens them up to give you the best material. You start by warming them up with their elevator pitch. So they tell you who they are, what they do, and why they're amazing. Then when you take them down memory lane, they're recalling the problem set they were facing when they were looking for somebody like you. This is valuable for your marketing copy, the problems they were facing. What was the reason they chose to work with you? That gives you unique differentiators. This is how they see you different than the rest of the market. Question 4 gets them to unpack the non-price reasons why you're valuable. If you use value-based pricing at all, the answer to question 4 is going to be really valuable for you. Question 5 is open-ended, so they get to relive the experience of working together. And they tell you the milestones they remember along the way. The answer to question 6 is often the first sentence of your testimonial. Because they're talking directly to the new customer. If somebody called and asked if they should do business with me, what would you tell them? The answer to this question is usually gold. But it takes 5 questions to get there, because you have to warm them up to it. So if you took this advice and you went out and you got a bunch of referrals and a few testimonials, and then never used it again, you'd be planting all your seeds and then harvesting, and then your field would be empty. The best farmers are always harvesting because they're always planting. So my challenge to you is to find the place in your process when you can ask these questions regularly, and ask them all the time at the same place in your customer journey. And that way, you can be collecting referrals and testimonials regularly throughout your career. So now, I'd like to return to the question I started with. What'd you think of my speech?
Thank you so much, Caelan. I love that. So once again, get your questions ready for Q&A, guys. So I will start with the first question. Have you ever had a negative reaction from a client or customer to any of the questions you've asked?
Yes, it happens. And usually it's because you're not reading the customer well enough.
Mm-hmm.
If there's things that would later be water under the bridge, if there's still tension about an unpaid invoice, or if there's things you haven't resolved, it can be hazardous to ask for referrals or testimonials because they don't feel authentic in recommending you. And so the best practice is to just ask for referrals and testimonials when you're on really good terms with your client.
Yeah, awesome. All right, questions? Yeah. All right, we'll start on this end and then move on over. All right, we'll start with Martina, Danielle, and then Kim.
So say you're generally in the history of your business been terrible at asking for testimonials, as I'm sure is the case for many of us. Any tips for going back to past clients who maybe you haven't worked with for a while, but you had a really good relationship with them when you did, and then trying to open that conversation again and being like, hey, maybe I'm redoing my website or something like that?
Yeah, I'd say there's 2 steps to this. And the first step is to practice with your accountability partners, with your mom, with other people here. Just practice regularly. And you can be much more candid with people who you haven't done business with. And you can say, hey, I'm going to be going and collecting referrals, and I'd like to practice my question with you. Would you role play a little bit with me? And just practice in very low stakes situations. And then move the stakes up a notch. Talk to the client that you have the best relationship with, or there's the least amount of hazard, and be frank with them. And say, hey, I'm collecting testimonials for my website, and I'm feeling kind of nervous. Would you mind talking with me through this? Or I'm looking for more clients right now, and so I'd like to ask you for some referrals. Would that be okay? And intro the conversation, and preface it by being clear about what you're doing.
Awesome. Danielle?
Thank you, very good presentation. I'm always asking on behalf of my students, which are trying to get into the, being a professional person, having a LinkedIn profile game now. I guess there's one question, how you approach the asking from testimonials. The other question is, what kind of person would you ask? Would you try to get as many testimonials as possible? Would you go for people of high social status, high social capital, or more like a portfolio approach, small clients, large clients? Could you comment on the type of person that you would seek testimonials from?
Sure. So there's a few questions there to unpack. And the first is students who are building out their LinkedIn profile. If they haven't had that much work history, you can ask for testimonials from people that you've done collaborative projects with. Anybody who's seen you produce. Anybody who has worked on something with you to see it through till completion. When people are looking at testimonials, they really want to know, what kind of person are you to work with? And you work with people in many capacities besides employment. And so look in some of those volunteer organizations, study groups in classrooms. There's other ways that you can get testimonials from people who, other than just from former bosses or clients. The second set of questions that you asked was around, forgive me, my...
Who to get testimonials
Yes.
from?
Yes, a lot of them. So when I'm working with a client, if they don't have a testimonials page on their website at theirname.com/testimonials, I always make it. And then any testimonial I can find from anywhere, I put it on there. It might be designed and forward-facing, or it might be an archive, because I do think having a volume of testimonials to choose from is very useful. So that anytime I'm producing a piece of marketing collateral, I've got a brochure, I need some testimonials, I know just where to go to get them. But the testimonials that I put on the home page, those are more curated. Those might be just the 3 best ones from the biggest names and the ones that are best worded. But I still like to have that archive of 50 bland testimonials so that if I ever need to go and get them for any reason, then there's a simple place where I can find them.
Kim, and then Miranda, and then I think that's all we have time for. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, so this is a fantastic approach for getting the written ones, and I'm definitely going to start doing this. But my question is, a lot of people nowadays say that video testimonials are even better. But I'm wondering if I did it in this interview style format, would it seem less authentic because it would seem like I'm probing the client, if that makes sense?
These are the same 6 questions I use for video testimonials.
But does the recording have you asking the questions, or do you edit that out?
I record the questions and then ask them to start their answer in a complete sentence. So that rather than reflecting back to me as if we're having a conversation, they say, the reason I chose to work with Caelan was, so that I can use the whole thing. And here's a handy tip. If you're gonna get video testimonials from clients and you can get them all into one place, like maybe you throw a party, client appreciation party, you get some catering and some wine and cheese and you get everybody in there and have a side room where you do the interviews, it makes it easy on everybody and they get a party out of it.
Awesome. All right, Miranda.
I wondered, there's so many different places that it's valuable to have testimonials. So on Google, it can help your search rankings, and on LinkedIn, it can help your conversion and discovery. Do you think once someone leaves a review on one platform, it's fair game to use it anywhere else, or are there any ethical issues around that?
Yes, if it's online and they put their name to it, put it anywhere and everywhere.
Awesome. All right, everyone.